in the group stage for mobile and console. We're headed back over to mobile once more, and it's going to be Mr. Tomboy taking on Dennis Bernard.
Straight into it, Wes. Thanks as always to Semra getting us to this point, looking after us. We cause trouble up here.
It's like watching family members argue with one another between you two. It's as a younger sibling of 3.
Yeah,
it's hilarious to see, and there are echoes of my own home. It really is.
It's great fun, and I think something that a lot of people at home don't realise, of course, is that we do like to make it difficult for each other. You know, we're always trying
There's
to.
There's always roughhousing.
Always roughhousing just to try and trip each other up. But to focus on the game we have at hand here, Mr. Tomboy, who has been just fantastic so far. You look at his performances. I mean, incredible. Coming up against Dennis Bernard, who we tipped to be one of the favourites based on his accolades, but did start off slow today against Lamty. Now is in a position very similar to the console group stages, where he kind of needs a win here to be in a position to challenge for that top spot, at least with it, to keep it within his own hands. Otherwise, he does need some results elsewhere to go his way, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I'll simplify it for you.
Please
Mr. Tomboy must not lose,
right,
and he goes through. But Dennis Bernard must win to put himself in the conversation. Of course, a draw leaves it open to results elsewhere, which, again, when you're at the final game of the group stage, it's not where you want to be. You want your own destiny to be in your own hands.
Well, that you do. And destiny is about to present itself to the entirety of the Arsenal FC Club event finalists, as we're into the final heat of the group stages. Only 2 of our 4 from each platform can participate and contest for the title. Later on today, it's Dennis Bernard in the grip of Arsenal. That yellow, well, it's defined as yellow and blue in the game. I think we'll just go with yellow.
Yeah, it's a strip that has, I say, divided a fan base. To some it's green, to some it's yellow. We'll just call it the second strip.
He'll be attacking that left-hand goal, and it is Mr. Tomboy from India in the home strip with that blue cursor. Things much simpler for him, and well, Thomas Partey here can maybe poke home the first goal. And he does so. 15 minutes in, and it's our group leader taking destiny within his own hands here. 1-0.
Yeah, it's a great start. Again, it's a bit of fortune though. You can see just doesn't quite get the right side. As you'll see the ball again here. It's a great ball there, but the defender, it just shows a little bit too much, and then as a result, it leaves Thomas Partey open. And again, it's a really cultured finish from a defensive midfielder, which you wouldn't, as we kind of alluded to earlier, you don't normally want defensive midfielders in that neck of the woods, shall we say, but certainly finished with aplomb.
We've seen it a lot today, haven't we? Jorginho getting in those types of areas. You have Declan Rice popping up every now and then. It's always fun to see exactly the personnel, the tactics that vary not only from player to player, but from platform to platform. And it does seem to be those DMFs that are getting in those areas with those chances. But credit to Mr. Tomboy. Today, he has been pretty darn good. And considering the way you simplified it, avoid a loss and you're into that knockout stage match as we take another look at that cultured finish as you described it. I mean, a goal goes a long way. I mean, you have that buffer. You know now if you concede, hey, I'm still in a position where this result is good enough for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's it. It's getting your nose in front early in a position where you know that you can take the game away with just that goal. Because, again, if you kind of revert to type of the game plan that we've been seeing, the minute it touches your back line or the minute it touches your defence, you clear it away immediately. but I don't think we're going to see that from Mr. Tomboy. And of course, you cast your mind in terms of themselves and how they're feeling. Of course, friends and family will be watching these games and willing on their respective players.
The man who's a goal to the good is coming forward again, as that had to be dealt with by Ramsdale. The friends and family just adds that extra layer of pressure, especially coming into that final heat with everything to play for. You know, 1 or 2 missteps can go from misery to jubilation and vice versa. For Dennis Bernard, he's one that we tipped with the accolades behind him. National champion of Indonesia back in 22, and then went back-to-back in 23. The Indonesia Football E-League champion as well in 2023. BGWIB Junior Games 23 champ as well. So has that experience, has the accolades, but we'll have to see, Wes. This is last chance saloon type of scenario for him here, because he needs some kind of result to even allow the possibility of featuring in the final later on to present itself to him.
Well, you're leaving it up to potential goal difference is what you're really leaving it up to here, is that if he cannot walk away with at least a point, he's going to leave it up to potentially a result in the other game that's on, and he'll be hoping for that. Of course, there's still time to go in this game, but as we know from mobile as well, strength to say, you can just see to the left of your screen just how tight it is in the mobile group. That is how close it is if this result stands as it is. So that is a live table. Of course, that can certainly change if goals go in.
Well, if things stood as they were, Dennis Bernard would be relying on Firewolf to do him a favour in the other game, no doubt running concurrently to this one. Because that goal difference, as you pointed out, Wes, he's below his adversary, who's in that second place conversation. So for all those accolades, for everything that's happened in the past, Dennis Bernard now knows he needs to win this second half just to give himself a chance, just to be in, make things a little bit more difficult for the other side of the group, for the other heats that's, or rather the other game that's happening in this heat. It's so close on the mobile platform. Just to make it to the knockout final as we're underway in the second half. It's Dennis Bernard who kicks us off in the second strip of Arsenal. The home strip is donned by Mr. Tomboy of India, who has been flying here.
Well, there is a big difference psychologically between having a game where you know that you need to win and a difference between knowing that you need just a point. And that is what is now presenting itself to the other half of this equation, is that if the result stands as this, it only requires a point in the opposite game for a qualification.
Well, Ben White's cross was a difficult one for the defence and goalkeeper to communicate between them, but they do get it done. Havertz to the feet of Jesus, who I think was coming back from an offside position. You're just joining us, of course. This is still the group stages on the mobile platform. The thing that's at stake is the chance to play in the knockout final later on, which will be the top 2 placing players with the most points at the end of the group stages, once all the tiebreakers and so on and so forth have been looked after by our boffins. But if you win that knockout final, you join the likes of Futi Facil from Brazil, representing Barcelona, Raul Fabiano from France, representing Bayern, Calahard from Mexico, representing AC Milan, Takaki from Japan, representing Inter. That's on the console side, and then on the mobile we have La Casa, Talon Usui, Joy Boy, Goo games,
Reneguchi, all there already. Yeah, you're quite right. It's as I think I said in the last finals that we did for the interclub finals. It's a real eclectic mix of nationalities and cultures, and there is a quite a sizable melting pot brewing in Tokyo in July.
Yes.
So it'd be great to see another person added to that pot.
The attendance for this match was 71,898.
Well, the hour mark has been and gone, as have the subs. We're in a position now where we need to see some action from Dennis Bernard. Signs of life, maybe, as the cross comes to nothing. Havertz around the corner to Jesus. Back to him now as he stayed on side. No. Good idea, but just came a second or two late. The longer this game ticks down, the longer and more comfortable the Tomboy will be feeling. Has some defending to do now, though. Smith Rowe to the feet of Havertz inside the box. Jesus cannot be fed in that scenario. Havertz back heel to Jesus, back to him, lots of space, tries the 1-2, not sure if that was the right option.
And a lot of green grass in front of him there to run into. He tried to play the pass back.
Jesus, Emil Smith Rowe, Gabriel Jesus now has Gabriel covering him. And with 10 minutes to go, the ball is in the hands of Ramsdale. As long as the ball remains at the feet of Mr. Tomboy in the home strip, or up at this end of the pitch, the happier he will be. Jorginho. Havertz. It's Dennis Bernard just fighting for his life here. Has to be good on this attack. Jesus with a double touch and the stunning strike, but too many red shirts to try and get that ball around. And you might think, Wes, that one will be the final action. There was a pause queued up, so we'll have just a little bit more time for us to consider exactly what's going to happen here. But one thing's for certain, Tomboy has done the business here in the group stages.
Yeah, and he's needed to. He's needed to. Yes, we said at the top of the game, it's a must not lose. He's kind of gone above and beyond that. And I think for Mr. Tomboy, it's the right move. If you are in form and you are playing well, you then don't want to maybe drop a gear, because especially going into what we now know will be him in the grand final of today's mobile platform, you want to be in form. You want to be cooking. You want to be just ticking over to the point where you know how your players are performing, you know how your players are reacting, and you'll know the game plan you want to put in there. The only thing you may get, though, and I'll put this one into the mind of Mr. Tomboy, you may get a slice of complacency because you've rolled through competition, and you may think to yourself, well, if I've beat them all, then actually I'll probably just beat the person in the final, when it's not as simple as that.
Especially when you bring into extra time, penalties into the equation.
Exactly, and that's where that mentality and that psychology comes into it, is for him to say, okay, if I've won the group stage, or if I've topped the group stage, okay, let me close that chapter of that and let me move on to the next bit, rather than going, well, that's the story of the day. You've still got another chapter to look at.
Well, 1 foot in the final, but you're right, Wes. You do want to warn against complacency, because you've not lifted a trophy yet. You've made it a possibility. Quite a high probability, but you still have to execute. Sadly for Dennis Bernard, I think now he waits and has to see exactly what's happening elsewhere, because Mr. Tomboy takes the 3 points, 1-0. A 100% record in the group stages. I may be wrong in saying this, but I believe the last player to do that was La Casa